What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. Let's get started. We're going to go over the MLB standings to start things off. Starting in the American League East, Tampa Bay Rays in first place at 52 and 36. Offensively, they're honestly not great, but their pitching's been so good. They've hung in there. Plus, Junior Caminero is just on a crazy tear. At one point, he had 11 home runs in 11 games. Just absolutely nuts. He's going to be in the home run derby and should be considered a favorite to win that because that dude hits tanks just left and right. The New York Yankees continue to struggle. I think they've lost 9 of their last 11 games. Feels like every summer under Aaron Boone, they just fall apart. A couple of guys are out right now. Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton both are hurt. Judge has a injury. He's still weeks away from even starting to really get ready to come back. Stan isn't really close. We all know how long he takes to recover from injuries, which happen every year for him. Starts off slow when he comes back usually. So they've really struggled offensively. I think prior to their game last night, I think they won 5-1. They, as a team, were hitting like 221 or 228 as a team over in their previous 10 games. Jazz Chisholm's been really bad. Ben Rice was had a phenomenal season. He actually just entered into the home run derby. He's been really bad lately. Cody Bellinger has not been good. Just Austin Wells has just been horrific. He shouldn't even be in the big leagues. Anthony Volpe should not be in the big leagues to me. And it's just, they've been really struggling offensively, and they have injuries in the rotation. Max Fried is hurt. He's been out for a while. Carlos Rodon is hurt. He's had injuries pretty much all season. And they have other guys there. Cam Schlittler, last couple of starts haven't been great, but overall he's been fantastic. He made the All-Star team. Ryan Weathers, last couple haven't been great, but overall he has had a good season. But they have a few guys out, and they are not playing well. And injuries can't be an excuse for the Yankees. It's the Yankees. They need to play better. Jays 42 and 49. They have been really struggling. Have obviously been bit by the injury bug. Probably worse than any other team in baseball did this year. And they are 7 games under 500. Still 3.5 games out of a playoff spot, but they are struggling for sure. Orioles are at 42 and 49. They haven't been great all year. P. Alonso's been very good. Most of their bats have hit their baseball card, but just don't have much pitching over there. So they're 42 and 49. And the Red Sox are at 40 and 48. They have been playing better. They won 8 of their last 10. So they've gotten better. They're only 4 games out of the wild card. See how bad the American League is, but they are still 8 games under 500. And not obviously not in the playoffs, but they're in last place in the American League East. American League Central, the White Sox, 47 and 42, continue to defy the odds with their young roster. I mean, they're not an elite team. They're only 5 games over 500. That division's very bad, but they are in first place. Cleveland's a game out right now at 47 and 44. They are in playoff position. Minnesota Twins have been playing some decent baseball. Have not been as bad as I thought they were going to be. Have a bunch of young guys over there, 44 and 47. They're only 4 games out of the division. The game they've out of the playoff spot. Tigers 40 and 50. They've been playing better. Scooball's look very good since coming back. But still, 10 games under 500. You are 5 games out of a spot. And the Royals were at 37 and 54. They've been really bad this year. As for the Bobby Witt and Carter Jensen, the young catcher, has not been a whole lot to cheer about. Tecleone is not taking off like we all thought. Salvador Perez doesn't have a whole lot left. Cole Reagans was just ruled out for the year. Second straight injury marked campaign for him. So it's been a tough go of it for the Kansas City Royals, who I thought would be better than they were last year and would be a playoff team that has not come to fruition. American League West, Seattle, another weak division. They are 47 and 44. Started out really bad, have turned things around over the last month. And they've gotten nothing from Cal Raleigh, who was injured for a while. He's been really bad this year. Last time I think he was hitting like 160 or something like that. Something really bad. And they just have so much starting pitching. Even with Luis Castillo struggling this year. Logan Gilbert's been really good. Brian Wu's been really good. George Kirby has pitched well. The bullpen has been fantastic, but it's held together. They need to go out and get another piece. And offensively, they're not horrible, but could be better. And obviously, Kyle Raleigh last year should have won MVP, I thought. Hit 60 home runs, a record for a catcher. And he's been a complete negative this year. Texas is exactly 500. 45 and 45. They have some excellent starting pitching. DeGrom is still very good. Evoldi's a really good pitcher. Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter have pitched well, but not enough offense. But they are in playoff position as of right now. Houston 45-48. They haven't had a great year. Jordan Alvarez has been a machine. Should probably be the MVP of the American League right now. We'll see where to end today. But just their pitching. Hunter Brown is a good pitcher, but he's been hurt. Spencer Arrigetti's been okay. Tasuya Amai's been really bad. And Hader was out for a while, so it's just been kind of a rough go for it. But they're only a game and a half out of a playoff spot. Only 3 games out of first place. Athletics 41-49. They can rake for days. Nick Kurtz is a stud. Jacob Wilson is a stud. They have so many big bats. Shaylin Jalier's got a ton of power, but their pitching is just so bad. Like, look, you think of their best starting pitchers, like Severino's has kind of been meh. Jeffrey Springs hasn't been very good. They just have no pitching, playing in that minor league ballpark. They're obviously headed to Vegas soon. Just they have no pitching, but they can hit for days. It's crazy when their offense is that good and they were safe on -72 run differential. If you said they had the worst staff in the league, that you wouldn't be that far off. And the Angels are at 36-55. They are the worst team in baseball. Please trade Mike Trout. Just please trade him. First of all, he's had a good season. He's been mostly healthy. That's the one stint he had on the injured list. He made the All-Star team. All-Star gives his popularity comes at this point, but he's had a good year. It's that poor guy. We'll see if they trade Reed Detmers out at the deadline. He's had a career. One of their starting pitchers. I think he's got 2 years left of arbitration. We'll see if he gets moved. Braves are 52-37. They have slowed down a lot over the last month after a blazing hot start. They have some injuries. Acuna is out for the second time in the season. We don't know when he is coming back. So that's been they've definitely missed him a lot. But still, Matt Olson has been great. Ozzie Albies has been very good. He's had a bounce back year. Olson Riley has been very good. Drake Baldwin is an absolute stud. The rookie of the year last year. He is so good. And pitching wise, Chris Sale has been very good in that rotation, but did just lose Martin Perez to a forearm injury. He took a line drive off of his forearm against the Mets the other day. He had a couple of crazy games against the Mets. We split the series. The Braves were down like 10-4-9 two games ago. They come all the way back at to 10-9. Hit a grand slam off Brazoban. Devlin has to come in. Mets hang on 10-9. Last night, crazy game. Juan Soto go-ahead 3-run homer in the top of the ninth to go up 5-3. Olsen ties it off Devin Williams with a game-time 2-run shot. But then extra innings, Luis Torrens go-ahead double. Luke Weaver holds together with just the one unearned run. Mets win 7-6-10. Braves have slowed down a lot. That bullpen's been fantastic, but they got some injuries in their rotation. Strellenbach is still out. Now Martin Perez goes down. Strider is hurt. Missing Acuna in their lineup. So they may need to make a move out of it, like a big move. They're going to probably need another outfielder, maybe another starting pitcher as well. Phillies are 15-41. Obviously, complete turnaround since Don Mattingly took over for Rob Thompson as the manager. Only 3 games out of first place and are in playoff position. The Miami Marlins have been playing some really good baseball. Sandy Alcantara, complete bounce back year. Got a nice young group over there. They're 49-42, and they are in playoff position right now. And they're only 4 games out of first place as they approach the All-Star break. Washington Nationals, this has been a really competitive division. They have played a lot better than we all expected. C.J. Abrams has been an absolute star this year. James Wood has been very good. Kate Cavalli, obviously just got suspended for that fight he was in. He has had a good year on the mound. They got a lot of good young talent over there, and they are 2 games over 500, and they're only 2.5 games out of the playoff spot. And then there's the absolute dumpster fire there for the New York Mets at 38-53. They suck. And they are right now the 3rd worst team, the 4th worst team in baseball, and the 2nd worst team in the National League. National League Central, Brewers continue to roll 56-33. They have the 2nd best record in the league at 56-33. They do this every year. Obviously, Pat Murphy's an excellent manager. So much pitching. Even with Sproat, who you got for Freddie Peralta, not really producing. You have all that pitching. Jacob Mizorowski's been on another planet this year. You've gotten some contributions enough, I would say, from your lineup. But you are still 56-33. Cubs have had just a whirlwind of a year. You had 2 separate 10-game win streaks early on. You were rolling. Then you completely fell apart. Even playing better as of late. Right now, you are 50-40. You're in playoff position. Cardinals 47-41, a lot better than I thought they were going to be. Only half game out of a playoff spot. The Pirates have been a decent team this year, 46-45, 3 games out of a spot. The Reds 41-48. They just have no bullpen. The starting pitching's been very good. Chase Burns has been great. Nick Lodolo's been pretty good. Hunter Green should be coming back soon, I would think. Graham Ashcraft as a bullpen guy, he's pitched well, but just the back end of the bullpen is so bad. They've blown so many games. And offensively, they're just kind of okay. Eugenio Suarez hasn't had a good year with the deadlock. He'd be a 40-homer guy for them. Hasn't happened. So they're just a flawed team. They're not bad. They have some exciting young talent. Doesn't help that Albert De La Cruz is out, but they are flawed for sure. Dodgers have the best record in baseball. Who would have thought that? 16-32. I mean, Ohtani's once again on another planet. Even with Rogi Sasaki struggling, Yamamoto hasn't been great. They have that. I always forget his name. Justin Robleski has had a really good year. Obviously, Max Muncy has had a very good season. Andy Pages, who last year got benched in the playoffs, did have that great catch in Game 7 where he ran over Kike Hernandez. But he's had a breakout season. Will Smith has been really good. Dalton Rushing, who's a complete asshole, but he has not been a terrible player. No, he's probably the least liked player in baseball because he's kind of an arrogant baby, but not a bad ball player. He's a good young ball player as a catcher. Tough as nails, kind of an old school player. Freddie Freeman is still Freddie Freeman. Mookie Betts hasn't really produced at all, but it doesn't matter when you have a super team, does it? And obviously the bullpens, even without Edwin Diaz, has helped out. He should be coming back, I would think, some point next month. Arizona's at 45-45. They're hanging in there. 3 games out of a spot. Padres, they have been really slumping. Have lost 9 of 10. Of course, Manny Machado has been very bad this year. Manuel Tatis hasn't been great. Have not gotten a lot of production out of that lineup. They're already thin in their rotation. We've known that all season. And they are 44-46. That's not a good luck for a team with their payroll. San Francisco Giants are a dumpster fire, 38-52. They're trying to trade Rafael Devers, trying to trade Willie Adames, trying to trade Matt Chapman, who's hurt. They're just a complete mess. Tony Vitello is a disaster of a manager. I told you that wasn't going to work. And the Colorado Rockies were the worst team national league at 37-55. They have some young pieces who are intriguing. Hunter Goodman's been very good. They have a couple of guys who have played well for them. Tyler Johnson has played pretty well for them. They have a couple of pieces there, but they just have absolute zero pitching, and even offensively. They have a couple of nice guys in the lineup. Goodman is a 30-homer guy behind the plate. Hit 31 last year. He's easily going to clear that this year. I mentioned Johnson in the outfield. He has some young bats, but even so, they still need some more. They're just not a good team. Simple as that. Let's talk some basketball. We had this trade broke last week, but I actually didn't get to talk about it yet. Kawhi Leonard to the Toronto Raptors as he returns to the Raptors to where he was Finals MVP in 2019. He gets sent back to the Raptors, Clippers send him to the Raptors. In exchange, they receive Brandon Ingram, Gritty Dick, and a couple of first-round picks and 2 seconds. So I like this a lot for the Clippers. Kawhi is a player who, as good as he is, last year had one of the best years of his career. Statistically, actually was the best year of his career. Averaged 27, almost 28 points a game, 6 boards and 3 assists. Shot 50% from the field, 38% from 3. Is still a great defender. His resume speaks for itself. 7-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, 7-time All-Defensive Player, 2-time champion, 2-time Finals MVP. One of the very few players who have won Finals MVP with 2 different teams. He's a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to the Hall of Fame one day. No doubt. I would say he's the top 40 or 50 player in NBA history. He's a great player, but he's going to be 35 years old. He's injured a lot. He has not played more than 70 games in the season since 2017. His second to last year in San Antonio. He's played 60 games or less in all but 2 of the last 7 or 8 seasons. Now, last year he played 65 games, so he missed 17 games. So for Clippers to move him, you get back Brandon Ingram, who is a good player. He is not as good as Kawhi Leonard, but he had a good year this past year. He averaged 21 points a game, 5 boards, and 3 assists. He shot 47% from the field, 38% from three, so he is a very good two-way player in his own right. Same kind of player as Kawhi, not as good, nearly, but is an all-star caliber player. He's going to be 29 this coming season, so he is considerably younger and considerably cheaper than Kawhi Leonard. They get Gravy Dick him a deal. 2 years ago, it looked like he started to turn the corner when he averaged 14 points a game. Wasn't good last year, but he's still very young. It's still very cheap. It was a lottery pick 3 years ago. A young player for the Clippers to evaluate. That's what you need. Young, cheap assets and draft picks. And you get back a couple of picks as well from the Toronto Raptors. It's a swap in 27. So you have a swap this year. Toronto's probably going to be the better team, so that may not matter a whole lot. An unprotected first in 2031 and in 2033. Those could be valuable picks. And you get 2 future second round draft selections. So for Toronto, I think it's a risky move. This makes you a contender in the Eastern Conference. Kawhi is definitely an upgrade over Brandon Ingram. Gravy Dick was not a huge part of your team last year. You put him with RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly, Jakob Poeltl, Colin Murray Boyles. That's a good group. That being said, at 35, I don't think Kawhi can carry a team like he did in 2019 when he carried them to a championship. Even so, he had Kyle Lowry, who just signed the one that did to retire as a Raptor. Congratulations on a fantastic career for Kyle Lowry, who's still an all-star caliber player, is considered one of the greatest Raptors players of all time. That's a team that had some other pieces on it. You had him. Danny Green was an important role player who you got in the Kawhi trade. You had Marc Gasol, was an older player, but a very good big man. You had a young Pascal Siakam. You had Fred VanVleet as a young player on the bench. That team was better than the one that you have right now. And also, Kawhi is now 7 years older. Injury, he already had health issues that season. They've only gotten worse since. I see all these people thinking they could go to the finals. Like, I just don't see it. I still see it. Are they better? Yes, they are a better team. No doubt. I don't think the swap this year is going to be that valuable. But the pick in 31, 33, those could be, I think, are going to be valuable draft picks. I really do. Kawhi is eligible for a 2-year extension. I think it's worth 126 million. If he signs that, that gives you 2, maybe 3 seasons to win a championship. I just don't know if they can because Kawhi's going to be 35. He's due to miss probably 20 games a season, at least. I just don't know if this is going to be enough. Now, you can give up a complete haul, but looking back, if you don't win a ring, you might have rather have Brandon Ingram because of how much younger he is. I don't think he will, but so I don't think it's moves enough for the Raptors, but definitely makes them a significantly better team. And if Clippers, I like it a lot. You get off an older player on a very expensive expiring salary. You get a good player in his prime in Brandon Ingram, who's basically like a poor man's Kawhi Leonard, a very poor man's Kawhi Leonard, but the same type of player, just not nearly as good, but he's younger and cheaper, and he just made an All-Star team. You get back a young asset for you to evaluate in Gravy Dick, and you swap this year, and you get 2 unprotected firsts and 2 seconds. That's 5 draft picks right there for a guy who you was not going to be on the team beyond next season. So I like the Clippers side a little bit better than the Toronto Raptors side in that trade. As for the other free agency signings and moves, the Sixers signed Anthony Simons, 2 years, $12.3 million. I think this is a good signing. He didn't produce a whole lot last year. He has traded from Portland to Boston in the Drew Holiday trade. Then Boston flips him at the deadline to Chicago for Nikola Vucevic. Last year, Simons averaged 14 points a game between Boston and Chicago. He shot 44% from the field, 38% from 3. Wasn't super efficient with the Bulls in those very little time he played for them. Simons is a guy, he's very injury prone, is going to play a lot of defense. but is a very efficient scorer who could shoot the three. And I think it's a nice piece for the Sixers to add. Gives him a girl on the bench behind Tyrese Maxey and behind the VJ Edgecombe, and gives him another guy who can create his own shot. Of course, so he's been very busy. Obviously, you trade Paul George and picks for Jaylen Brown, and now you bring in Anthony Simons. We have a coaching hire on the assistant side. Billy Donovan's going to be the Spurs' top assistant. I think that's a good hire. He's a guy who has coached in the league for a long time. He coached in college. He won a national championship at Florida years ago. He's a great college coach. He's coached in the NBA as a head coach for a while. With the Bulls for a while. Before that was in he was in Oklahoma City for a few years as well. So he's a good assistant to have. I think he's where he belongs. Either a top level assistant in the NBA or a very good college coach. I don't think he's a great NBA head coach, but as an assistant coach for a younger coach in Mitch Johnson, I think that's a good hire. The Rockets re-signed Terry Eason, 5 years and $81.5 million. I think it's a decent signing. When you look at it, like it seems like a lot of money because of how many years he gets, but when you zoom out, I think it's a little bit over $60 million a season for a guy who's only going to be 25 and just average 10 points a game and shot 35% from three on almost 4.5 attempts, 41% from the field. Easton's a solid player, and they lock him down long term. The Celtics extend Neemias Queta, 4 years, $56 million. I think Queta's going to have a very productive year this coming season. He had a best year of his career this past season. Stepping into the Celtics starting center after Al Horford, Luke Cornett left him for agency, and Kristaps Porzingis was traded to the Atlanta Hawks before the season started last year. Last year he averaged 10 points, 8 rebounds, shot 65% from the field. He had a good year, and now he can settle in as a number 2 center behind Mitchell Robinson, who they bring in for agency. Obviously, Mitch is not there for his offense, but he's there for his rebounding and his defense. Queta gets a 4-year extension worth, I think it comes to $14 million a season or so. Yeah, $14 million a season. So I think that's a good deal for both Queta and for the Bulls and Celtics. The Wizards make a trip to Lakers. The Wizards acquired DeAndre 8 for the Lakers. They send Jaden Hardy and second rounds in 2031 and 2032. I mean, I don't know if I call anyone a winner or a loser in this trade. The fact that the Lakers got anything for the disaster that is DeAndre 8 is a plus. And Jaden Hardy, he's not a terrible player. He's only going to be 24. Between Dallas and Washington, he went to the Wizards in the Anthony Davis package. Last year, averaged 9 points a game, shot 39% from three on almost 4.5 attempts. In 23 games with the Wizards, he averaged 12 points a game, shot 42% from three on 6 attempts per game. So Hardy, he's a good young player for the Lakers to evaluate. He's a guy who can shoot the ball. Just turned 24. He should be a part of the rotation this coming season. And to me, he's the best piece in this trade. And the Wizards get DeAndre Ayton. That's a just weird fit with the Bansta and Anthony Davis there. So, I mean, enjoy him, I guess. But he's not very good. Complete bust, first overall pick. Good rebounder. Okay lob threat, but not much of a scorer. Terrible defender. Just very low IQ player. Bad attitude. Just not a guy you want on your team. For a contender, he doesn't do much for you opposed to being maybe a serviceable bench player. Even as a rebuilding team, he's not like a guy you want to run your younger players either because of his attitude. So I don't get it. The Hornets make a move. They acquire Dorian Finney-Smith for 3 second-round picks. This is a good trade for the Hornets. DFS was injured a lot last year. Only played 37 games, only averaged 3 points a game, but he is a good player, a very good wing defender. For his career, he's a 35% three-point shooter. Didn't shoot very well last year in the little time that he was out there on the court, and he is a bit of an injury risk, but when he is healthy, he's a very good 3-and-D piece to have on your bench. He's going to be 33. It's a solid bet for the Hornets to add. In fact, I'm not sure why Houston decided to just give him away randomly. I thought that was kind of odd. I assumed to keep him under the tax. Sacramento Kings have waived DeMar DeRozan after they could not find a trade partner for him. This is going to be an intriguing piece that will probably join a contender on a veteran minimum. DeRozan is going to be 37 years old. He is nowhere near the player he once was. This is not a guy, not even close to the same player that was a former six-time All-Star, a former three-time All NBA player. This is not the guy who was averaging over 20 points a game with the Raptors all those years. This is not the guy who was a top 10 MVP finisher twice in his career. But last year, he's a guy who plays pretty much every game for the most part. He's played at least 70 games in all but two of his seasons, and he's been in the league for 17 years. Last year played 77 games. He averaged 18 points a game. He shot 49% from the field. Only shot 32% from three. He's never been a good three-point shooter. He's only at 3% three-point shooter for his career, but he's got a very good mid-range game. He's a good scorer in the mid-range, good slasher. Now, does he bring a whole lot else to the table? No. He does not play make like he once did. Never was an elite playmaker anyway, but certainly isn't a good playmaker right now. Was never a good defender. Has only gotten worse as he's gotten older. But for someone who needs a guy who can get you a couple of buckets off the bench, especially in the mid-range, get to the basket, he's going to be a valuable piece to someone's bench. And everyone's saying Toronto Raptors should reunite with him, and I think that makes a ton of sense. I think they could really benefit from a veteran who can still put the ball in the hoop, and probably he's going to be playing a lot less minutes, I would think. He averaged 31 minutes a game last year. This is a guy every year was playing 35 plus minutes a game for his career. Probably going to play close to 25 minutes, but I think can still give you 12 to 14 points a game off the bench. I think the New York Knicks would greatly benefit from another wing in that room behind Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, a veteran who's played on a lot of teams, has been around the league for a while, who can score. I think DeMar would love to be on both those teams. I'm not sure about his relationship with Toronto since betrayed. I gotta think they'd be willing to welcome him back up with open arms. I know him and Drake aren't great, but the guy's at the end of the day, he's a fan. Just get over it, okay? I think he, would welcome a chance to go back. Be very odd playing of Kawhi, considering he was traded for him in 2019. Be kind of funny, but I think he'd benefit. That gives him a shot to win a championship. He wants to join the Knicks. That gives him a shot to win a championship. I'd imagine he wants to play for a contender, a chance to win a championship. The Raptors win the championship right after he's traded. He played on some bad Spurs teams, some bad Bulls teams, some bad Kings teams. I think he's going to want to join a team like the New York Knicks, the Toronto Raptors, the Boston Celtics, the Denver Nuggets, a team that's going to contend. So I think he would accept a veteran minimum to do so. So DeMar gets waived. Clippers signed Roby Hachimura, 2 years, $28 million. This is a very good signing for the Los Angeles Clippers. I'm very surprised Lakers did not make more of an effort to re-sign him. He's a good player. This last year, he averaged 11 points a game, shot 44% from three on just about 4 attempts a game. So he's a very good three-point shooter. Still only going to be 28 years old. I think it's a very good value for the Clippers. I know he's hurt a lot, but when he's healthy, very good shooter to have. And he's still 28 years old. Clippers continue to get younger, which is, last year you trade Zubac for Benedict Morfriend, who I think I've said many times, that guy's going to be a great player in this league, and he already is a very solid piece. Isaiah Jackson and picks. You end up getting the Patriots' top 5 pick here. You take Keaton Wagner, who I think is going to be a stud in the NBA. You got Darius Garland for James Harden last year, he's a lot younger guy who can create his own shot. Now you had Hachimura, you get B.I. and Gerby Dick for Kawhi. They're slowly starting to identify a young core. They let Bogdanovich walk, so this is a team that has been a nursery home with so many old guys for a long time, is slowly getting significantly younger. And one coaching piece and then one player piece. Patrick Ewing is going to be an assistant coach with the Washington Wizards. So very interesting. Obviously, he was part of the Knicks front office this past year. He won the championship. And I think he's always wanted to coach. He coached at Georgetown, of course, where he went to college and was a legend as a player. Wasn't very good. Did not have much success there. Had 1 year where they made a Cinderella run in the Big East tournament and kind of stole a bid in the tournament and got clotheslined in the first round. He had 1 year where they lost like 20 games in a row or something, and overall was not very good. got fired a few seasons ago. And so there was speculation that maybe when the Knicks were really bad, that he'd make a jump to be their next head coach. That was obviously always a fairy tale and a nostalgia move when the Knicks were a disaster in the late 2010s. But I think has hopes of being a head coach. I would think somewhere again where it's in the NBA. I'm sure he would hope is in the NBA. I would think would probably get a college job before he's an NBA head coach. But he's joining the Wizards as an assistant. I'm surprised Brian Keefe even came back as a head coach. Maybe they're a little bit worried about him even with bringing him back. So worst case, even with Andrew DeBanza, who should be rookie of the year favorite, first overall pick, if Anthony Davis can somehow stay healthy, Trae Young, same deal, pieces they got to be thinking this team can be competitive and at least make a play in the Eastern Conference. And but things go south. And if they take Keefe, now that gives you a guy who's coached high level basketball before, obviously as NBA Hall of Famer Patrick Ewing, who could step in on an interim basis. But he joined the Wizards as an assistant coach. And the Cavs extend Donovan Mitchell on a 4-year contract worth $273 million. Look, Spy is a great player, elite scorer in this game, but almost $69 million a year for a guy who has not won a game in the Eastern Conference Finals or the Western Conference Finals, for that matter, ever in his career. He's been in the league for a decade. Doesn't seem like a good idea. And this, to me, hampers them a lot. The team that already was up against the apron. You had to let Dean Wade walk. There's speculation they could trade Jared Allen like there always is, and it never happens. There's speculation that they're looking to shop Dennis Schroeder, much what they would get for him, but they're apparently looking to trade him too. And you go out and do this, it just doesn't make any sense. They're basically saying we're just running back the same group, except Dean Wade, who was your backup power forward last year, is no longer there. And you add whoever you drafted the early second round this past year. Yeah, I don't really know what they are expecting out of that group. I expect them to regress from last year and probably lose in the first round. Some moves in the NHL for agency. The Canadiens extend their young goalie Jakob Dobes on a 3-year extension worth $5.6 million a season. Dobes had a very good year last year for the Canadiens. He had a 278 goals against average and a 901 save percentage. He finished fourth in the Rookie of the Year voting. He played 43 games in the regular season, was outstanding in the postseason in a run that saw the Canadiens go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and after years of not winning a single playoff series. So the Canadiens extend their young goalie, Jakob Dobes, I think will only get better going forward, only going to be 25 next season on a 3-year extension. The Stars re-signed Jimmy Benn a year for $1.15 million. Ben's been in Dallas forever. Been there a very long time. He is still a good player. Isn't the guy that was an MVP candidate, MVP finals a couple of times throughout his career. He's going to be 37. But last year, in 60 games, had 15 goals and 36 points, so he's still a solid player. He comes back for his 18th season in the league. He spent his whole career in Dallas. He returns to the Dallas Stars. And in a shocking development, the Flyers have offer-sheeted Ducks forward Leo Carlson 5 years, $90 million. An $18 million a year offer sheet. That is crazy. Some of this is so hilarious. That is just the Flyers saying, "Oh, you like Leo Carlson? Well, you better pay him $18+ million a year because boom, offer sheet." The Ducks have until Friday, 3 days from today, to match. If they don't match, the Flyers give the Ducks 4 first-round draft picks. So that's a lot for an offer sheet. Now that's a lot. That is definitely a lot. Remember that Carter Gauthier from our fifth overall pick in 22 by the Flyers, who had some issues with them before he even placed them. He gets traded to the Ducks a couple of seasons ago. We've started a rivalry like this. Granted, he's an outstanding player. He had 41 goals last year, but Leo Carlson, he's very good. Is he worth $18 million a year? Probably not. But he's still 22 years old. He had 29 goals and 67 points last year at 21 years of age. for the Anaheim Ducks, one of the better young teams in hockey that was in the conference semis last year. And now the Flyers put a giant overshoot on him, so we will see if that gets matched or not. And the Flames extend Simon Nemec, 5-year extension worth $7.2 million, young defenseman that they get from the Devils in the trade. And the Senators are re-signing Claude Giroux. Don't know the term. I'm assuming that's a 1-year deal. He's a much older player. Not what he once was. From the first round by the Flyers almost years ago, but gonna be 39, but still a good player. Will be his 5th year in Ottawa. 14 goals and 49 points last year. He's still a solid player. He will be returning to the Albert Senators for another year. It will be year 20 for Claude Giroux and year 5 with the Ottawa Senators. Of course, spent years in Philadelphia from his rookie year in 2009. Was traded to Florida mid-year in 2022 and has been with Ottawa since 2023. And last bit we'll talk about for hockey. The Rangers are now being controlled by James Dolan's son, Quinton Dolan. So Dolan's no longer handling the day-to-day operations with the Rangers. It's now going to be Quinton. We'll see if that changes anything with the New York Rangers. Before we get into the last segment, I just want to give a thank you to Sheamus, who left WWE a day or two ago. One of my favorites of all time, one of a lot of people's favorites of all time, future Hall of Famer. It's really a shame that he had 10 Intercontinental Championship matches and never won one of them. That would have been like career Grand Slam champion. Now a lot of guys have accomplished that in WWE. It really is a shame. It's a shame that they've kind of done nothing with him after that incredible run he had with Drew McIntyre and Gunther a couple of years ago. And he was not rewarded. At least give him the IC title or maybe even one more world title run. They offered to restructure his deal. They offered him an extension, and he basically told them to stick up their ass. I'm done. And I'm not sure what he does. He's an older guy. He's had some injuries in recent years, but maybe he goes to AEW and reforms the Bar with Cesaro. Of course, him and Cesaro were the Bar as a tag team in the 2010s in WWE, and were one of the greatest tag teams of all time. So that'll be an interesting development, but thank you to Sheamus for all his years of service, and really it's a shame that he won't be finishing his career in WWE, but I can't blame him because that company is cooked. They are in the gutter. But to finish off today, I'm going to do my AFC East predictions. I'm going to go off the over-under for their win totals, and I'm going to tell you where I think they take the over or the under, and I'll rank the teams in order of how I think they will finish in the division this season. So I'm going to start with the AFC East. I'm going to start with the team that I think is going to win the division. I think it will be the Buffalo Bills. They're at 10.5 is their over-under. I think they will go over that. I am concerned about the Bills' Super Bowl chances, on top of the fact that they just somehow manage to screw things up in the playoffs every single season. I just look at this team. I think Bradley Chubb coming in, and that's basically who you replace Joey Bosa with as your top edge rusher, is an upgrade. Chubb is an older player. He's going to be 32 or 33 years old, and he's got injuries in his past, but this is still a guy that can get you 8 to 10 sacks in a season. I don't think Joey Bosa can do that. I think they can probably get at least 14 games out of Bradley Chubb. I'm not sure Joey Bosa can even give you 12 at this point in his career. That guy is always hurt. And the DJ Moore move, he's still a solid receiver, but he is not what he once was. He is not wide receiver 1 anymore. He's now 29 years old. And Allen did not have a good year last year. Only 50 catches, 682 yards, and 6 touchdowns last year for the Bears. I have a hard time seeing him get better. Now, Josh Allen is a much better quarterback, obviously, than Caleb Williams, but I don't think he's a number 1 wide receiver. Shakir can settle into, I guess, that number 2 role. That's fine. I think Skylar Bell can be a 2 or a 3 eventually. But Keon Coleman should not be on this roster anymore after what the owner said. That's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And they get slightly worse at the left guard spot, going from David Edwards, who was very good last year, to right now your projected starter is either going to be Alec Anderson or Austin Corbett. They still have a very good offensive line, but that is still a downgrade. And, relying on the rookie TJ Sanders, a cross from Bradley Chubb, who's an older player, what will TJ Parker give them in year one? So I do have some concerns there. And I think their secondary is very good. Christian Benford's a good corner. Maxwell Harrison's pretty good. You bring Gardner Johnson as a nickelback. I like that. Geno Stone at safety is a good piece. I think Ed Oliver being healthy in the middle of the D line will do them wonders. They still have Josh Allen, and at least in the regular season is a fantastic talent. Obviously, James Cook is a top six back in the league. Kincaid's a good tight end. This is still a good team. I do think they will win the division. They probably win 12 or 13 games. So I don't know if they're a true Super Bowl contender. This team still has some flaws. I still think they need a true number one wide receiver. I don't love their pass rush. They have a couple of people, like, again, I just named a bunch of guys. TJ Sanders and TJ Parker and Chubb and Oliver healthy. Even Gregory Sal is pretty good. They don't have like a dude that you're really scared of on the front seven. They have a plethora of guys who are good, but they don't have a guy who I'm genuinely threatened by on my defensive line, which I think was going to hold them back. Team I have finishing in second place is the New England Patriots. I have them finishing in second place in the AFC East. Their over-under is 9.5. So this is one that's tough to predict because I do think they are in for some regression. And I do believe that like the 9.5, that's right about where I would have them. I'm actually gonna take the under here. Barely. I think they are 9-8 and have a chance to make the playoffs. I understand that Drake May is an exceptional talent. He had a good year last year. I think Patriots fans are a little bit too over the moon for this guy, but he was very good last year and is a top seven right quarterback in the league. Not top three like all the fans think he is, but he's a top seven right quarterback right now, and will probably be top five in the next two seasons easily. Probably at by the end of this year, honestly. Adding AJ Brown's is major. He's still an elite receiver. You have Romeo Dobbs. That's a lot of money to give him. What they give him? 70 million total contract. That's a lot for Romeo Dobbs, but he's a good receiver. We have Kyle Williams is a fine receiver. Pop Douglas is a slot guy. Isn't bad. Butte will have his big plays here and there. Hunter Harris is a good tight end. In terms of, there was a lot of pieces moving around in the offseason than you would have liked for a team that just went to a Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, they probably broke about even overall. You lose K'Lavon Chiasson on the defensive line, and he had a good year last year, but you also bring in Draymond Jones, who's a solid, versatile defensive lineman. You sticking on the defensive side of the football. You're going, Milton Williams is a guy who was hurt a bunch last year, but was healthy for the playoff run. You're going to have him fully healthy. And, in the secondary, you lost a piece or two here and there, but I thought you replaced it pretty adequately. It just even though their safeties kind of got shaken up, I think you broke even overall with who came in and who left. On the offensive line, that's where I'm a little bit worried. You traded away who's the center? Garrett Bradbury, not that big of a deal. He was just kind of okay last year. He's a full offensive lineman. That allowed you to shift Jerry Wilson to center, where he played in college at Georgia. He played guard last year. I think he will get better. You brought Elijah Vera Tucker. When that guy is healthy, he's a very good offensive guard who can also play tackle. He was injured all last season, and he always finds a way to get hurt. He got a 3-year deal. I think they can get out after a year. You drafted Caleb Lamu in round one. I think he will eventually slot in at right tackle, probably in 2027 when Morgan Moses' contract ends and he probably doesn't come back. This year, I think he might play some more guard. Because they're probably going to need him at guard because Elijah Vera Tucker is due to miss games, and he's coming off a year where he didn't play because he was injured the whole season. And so just a lot of moving pieces on the offensive line. Wilson moving over, and Lamu coming in. And there are Tucker in there. And look, Michael Williams was a very good offensive lineman. And Campbell, he was really, really bad down the stretch. Was very bad in the playoffs. He was very good before the injury. That being said, for a guy who had a lot of concerns of if he stick at left tackle before being the fourth pick by the Patriots, because of his short arms, the fact that he was that bad in the playoffs is concerning. He did play some top edge rushers though. He wasn't like he was playing nobody. I think he could stick a left tackle. He may have to move inside. Now, even if he does move inside, I think he'll be an all-pro guard forever, for a long time. But there's so many moving pieces in the offensive line. You don't like to have, be trying different combinations with the offensive line, multiple times throughout a season. That's how teams lose games without they shouldn't kind of thing. And the Patriots seem like a team that are going to be forced to do that because of just all the moving pieces on that offensive line. And I don't like that. This is still a good team. And let's be honest, they played such an easy schedule last season that they played like how many good teams did they play last year? Genuinely. Like you played the Jets twice and the Jets were horrific. You played the Dolphins twice, they weren't any good. You played the Bills were a good team. You played twice. You beat them once. You also blew a 21-0 lead at them at the halftime the second time. Like Tampa wasn't a good team. They completely collapsed. They had so many injuries last year. You played the Saints before they started playing even competent football. You played the Titans, who were very bad last year. So you play so many bad teams. Now with the first place schedule, it's going to be a lot harder. Now look, this is the NFL. There's no such thing as a truly easy schedule. But the Patriots played one last year. It's one of the few teams that they genuinely played a very easy schedule. Okay? Like it was literally the easiest ever in the modern era. So I am definitely concerned of how that's going to work out. Now with a much harder schedule. So now the difference between the first place schedule, everyone talks about it, it's not that big of a deal. But what it means is when you have a last place schedule, it basically gives you like 3 games that should be gimmies. So you're thinking, all right, that's 3 games that they're not going to have now because you last year you put a last place schedule, now you play a first place schedule. That gives you won 14 games in the regular season. That puts you at an 11-win team on paper, and then maybe the things go right for them. Their Tucker stays healthy. Drake takes an even bigger step forward. A.J. Brown, is happy again playing for Mike Vrabel. The defense is the lead again, and you end up with 13 wins. And you're a 2 seed, first seed in the AFC, and you're in place for a deep playoff run. Things could also not go right. Vera Tucker could get hurt. The O-line could be a mess. And maybe doesn't take as big of a step forward as you want. And you have issues on defense, maybe. Remember, their coach, Mike Vrabel, was involved in the big scandal in the offseason with Deanna Rossini, a 6-year-long affair. That poor guy's wife. And poor Deanna's husband. And, maybe they end up at 9-8. And maybe they spun skin their teeth, make the playoffs, lose in the first round. Maybe they missed the playoffs outright, which would be a bare disappointment for a team that should be trending on the up, and it was just in the Super Bowl. So the Patriots, tough team to predict for me, but I'm going to say they're on the lower side of things. They just have some concerns that are a little bit glaring for me. So I will say they are just under the 9.5, and I think they go 9-8, and they finish in second place in the AFC East. With the finishing in third place in the AFC East, I have the New York Jets. The disaster that has been the New York Jets, their over/under is at 5.5. I'm going to take the under. They are the Jets. That's all I should need to say. Now, defensively, they should be significantly better. They added a bunch of pieces. I think David Bailey, your second overall pick, is going to be great. I think You had some intriguing guys in the offseason. Joseph Asai's not a bad rotation, the right rusher. Don't love him at 12 million a season, but he's not bad. You added Tavondre Sweat from the Titans for Jermaine Johnson. I think it's a better fit with them going to a 4-3. You added there's another D tackle that you brought in as well. Gonna pull him up now. You brought in David Onyemata is another guy that you signed. So you're definitely much deeper on your defensive line. You bring back Tamara Davis for a third stint. He's old, but still a very good player. I think that'll help Jamie and Sherwood a little bit. And your secondaries should be better. I think you had an excellent draft. We'll get to the after pieces in a minute, but getting D'Angelo Pons from the second round is definitely a steal. He's a very good corner. He'll probably play a good amount of nickel back. I could see him playing some outside corner because Brandon Stevens is god awful. I think signing Nashawn Wright was an underrated signing. He's a good player. A.Z. Thomas played well down the stretch. He's a young player for them to evaluate. We'll see what he can give them. You have Jarvis Brownlee you brought in last year. He's a serviceable slot corner, I'd say. You had Mika Fitzpatrick at safety. Older player, but still pretty good. Malachi Moore, I never understood why he was not playing over, what's the guy's name? Like, they're driving up a wall, too. Not Andre Siska, who right now might start for them at some point. Ashton Davis, who just, every time I saw Ashton Davis out there, nothing. Every time they put Malachi Moore out there, he'd make a big play, and then he just wouldn't play the next play. I never understood it last year. But the defense should be massively improved on paper. You have an actual good kicker this year, Jason Sanders. Well, you have one last year, Nick Folk, who was great, but he leaves. For a year before him, you didn't have a good kicker, and Jason Sanders should be a good kicker. You have Katie Rook in there for competition, but Sanders is a good kicker. But the Giants let him go right after picking him up. Offensively, I think it's a great move to draft Kenyon Sadiq at the end of the first round. I think he'll be a really good tight end. To get him at not at the end, you got him at 16 with the Colts pick. To trade back up at 30 and get Omar Cooper he's a good receiver. Very versatile, a Deebo Samuel kind of player. I think a good fit behind Garrett Wilson. Gives you a legit two. Brees Hall's a good running back. They have a very good young offensive line. Membo was a stud last year. Fashanu is very good. Titman's is a really good offensive lineman. You brought in Dylan Parham to fill the left guard spot. And this team is trending in the right direction. They have a few things were working against them. First of all, Aaron Glenn is the stupidest head coach I've ever seen in my life. He sucks. Your quarterback is Geno Smith, who is now involved in, I don't even know what to call it. I'm not going to speculate. Something's going on with that guy. Some messed up stuff. He might be getting suspended. I don't know what's going on. And the rest of your quarterback room is Kid Klubnik, a fourth round pick. I don't think is an NFL caliber quarterback. Brady Cook, you saw how bad that guy was last year. And Bailey Zappi, who, fun player, but not really good at anything in terms of football. So, if Geno is not playing this year at all, it's going to look ugly. Like, we saw how Brady Cook last year. He'll might get into the game again this year. I was hoping they didn't even keep Hendon Hooker. So, it's going to be bad. So, let's be honest. I think this team is tanking. They're trying to hide it by adding all these pieces in free because they had the money to do it, had all these picks, but they're going to be tanking. Hopefully, that's Darren Mooney was saying, you know what, Aaron? Sink or swim. I don't care. I just got an extension. You didn't, and he fires me after the year. Hopefully, that's what happens, but they're looking to draft a quarterback next year and then in that deep class. So, the Jets, they're gonna be under the 5.5. They just don't have the quarterback play once again. Yeah, and just they're poorly coached. They can only go so far with the improved roster. When I say improved, like they won 3 games last year. Could they get much worse? I mean, I think I said every year about the Jets, and they do get worse, but genuinely, how much worse could they have gotten? Like, come on. They're a very bad team that got slightly better. Let's pump the brakes, and they're going to be good because they're not going to be good. They'll be under. If they're like they'll go 5-12, they win one game too many and cost themselves the first pick. That's to be typical Jets year. In last place in the AFC East, I have the Miami Dolphins. They are at 4.5. I'm going to take the under. This team is horrific. Their starting quarterback is Malik Willis, who is a good backup. I do not believe he's a starter in the NFL. Devon Atrian's a great running back, great athlete, but your number one wide receiver is Malik Washington. He sucks. He's at best a 4 on any other team. Jalen Tolbert isn't very good. Stu Atwell is a serviceable receiver. I like them drafting Chris Bell. I think he could be a good receiver. But I bet I think he'll be a 2. Even Caleb Douglas, he could be like a 3. They rostered Terrence Marshall. I forgot the guy who was in the league. They rostered Jalen Reagor. He should not be in the league. The guy was a first-round pick is embarrassing. Drafted level 1 pick before Justin Jefferson. Your starting 10 is Greg Dulcich, who has some great hair. I wish I could pull that off, but not a very good NFL player. Your offensive line isn't good. You drafted Caden Proctor in the first round. I think he's a project. I have concerns with stick at left tackle. He's probably going to play guard year 1. Your left tackle right now is Patrick Paul. That guy sounds fake. Then you have Olsen Jackson at right tackle. He's okay. Your guards are Proctor and Jonah Savanea, who isn't very good. Your center is Aaron Brewer, who's good. The offensive line isn't great. Your receiving core is one of the worst I've ever seen. And defensively, you're just so young. Like, the veterans you do have, Zach Savers going to be 32. You got... That's the only veteran you have. Like, Chop Robinson from a first-rounder has not been good so far. Kenneth Graham was a first-rounder a year ago. He didn't look good as a rookie. Jordan Brooks is a good play. Willie Gay is pretty good. I like you taking Chris Johnson at the end of the first round. I think he'll be a good corner. Other than that, like your starting corner right now is Storm Duck. That sounds like someone Clint Eastwood would have played it in a movie. Your safety, Lonnie Johnson Jr., who's terrible. Marker Wilson isn't very good. And your other starting DN across from Chop Robinson is probably going to be Josh Uche, who sucks, or David Ohabo. A lot of talent coming out of Michigan injuries have just not allowed his career to really get off the ground. A couple years in, unfortunately. This team's going to be brutal. Now, also, they have a first-year head coach, Jeff Hafley, who I do not think is a head coach in the NFL. Their offensive coordinator is Nathaniel Hackett, who I get it. I'm not saying like because you're a horrific head coach, you're not a good coordinator. I'm not going to be that guy today ever. I think people who do that are ridiculous. Let's be honest. Has he ever been that good of a coordinator when he hasn't had Aaron Rodgers? Well, like, let's be real. He held prime Aaron Rodgers. When he had him with the Jets, he was terrible too. So that's not a good hire. And he brought like the rest of the Green Bay staff with him. Cool, I guess. But yeah, this team's going to be very, very bad. And they're going to win that best 4 games. So they're going to be under. That's all I got for you guys today. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.